The week began for President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelenskyy with a speech to the participants of the Global Forum of the American Jewish Committee, one of the oldest Jewish human rights organizations. The head of state of Ukraine once again reminded that the Ukrainian army needs powerful offensive weapons, otherwise the war would drag on.
We do not have comprehensive information about what is happening in the territories occupied by Russia. We do not know everything about murders and other crimes. What have they done to our people? We do not know how many bodies the invaders buried in mass graves or left in ruins. The list of murdered children has become longer by 24 points. Now we have a historic opportunity to defend our common freedom.
Volodymyr Zelenskyy held a video meeting with President of Poland Andrzej Duda and Zuzana Chaputova, the leader of Slovakia. They discussed the situation on the front lines of the war, covert mobilization in Russia and new Russian missile strikes on Ukraine. And in a new interview with one of the German TV channels, Zelenskyy spoke about the ambiguous and surprising position of some German political leaders about the war unleashed by Putin against Ukraine.
What we need from Chancellor Scholz is the assurance that they support Ukraine. His government and himself personally have to choose for themselves not to be a balance between Ukraine and relations with Russia, but to choose who is in priority for them.
The Prime Ministers of Albania, Edi Rama, Montenegro, Dritan Abazovic, and North Macedonia, Dimitar Kovachevsky, adopted a joint statement of support for granting Ukraine the status of a candidate for membership in the European Union. For this, the heads of government came to Kyiv. And already on June 16th, Volodymyr Zelenskyy received French President Emmanuel Macron, Italian Prime Minister Mario Draghi, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, and the President of Romania, Klaus Iohannis, in the Ukrainian capital city of Kyiv. The main topics of discussion were the supply of weapons, the global food crisis, and granting Ukraine the status of a candidate for EU membership. On their first visit to Ukraine since the start of the war, European leaders arrived in Irpin, the suburb of Kyiv, to see the destruction left by the Russian army. As a result of this meeting, the leaders called for the immediate granting to Ukraine the status of a candidate for EU membership, promised to help more intensively, and also expressed their position. They would not persuade Ukraine to make any concessions to Putin, including territorial ones, and they assured that they would not allow any negotiations with Russia behind the back of Ukraine. A day later, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson arrived in Kyiv. As in the last time, President Zelenskyy accompanied Mr. Johnson around the city. The UK Prime Minister was shown the destroyed Russian equipment on Mikhailivska Square. Boris Johnson also visited the St. Michael's Golden Domed Cathedral and, together with Volodymyr Zelenskyy, laid flowers at the Wall of Remembrance for those who died for Ukraine. Boris Johnson, during the visit, announced the strengthening of sanctions as well as a military training program for Ukrainian soldiers. The United Kingdom announced it is ready to provide training for up to 10,000 Ukrainian troops every 120 days.
We talked about the need to supply heavy weapons. We handed over our proposals on sanctions so that the sanctions become such that Russia feels that its aggression, its terrorist actions against Ukraine and global stability will only lead to the detriment of Russia.
On June 15th, a 3D hologram projection of Volodymyr Zelenskyy addressed representatives of technology companies in Paris, London, Stockholm, and Amsterdam. The president of Ukraine spoke about the reconstruction of the infrastructure destroyed by the Russians, declaring that Ukraine is a chance for a global digital revolution.
It's unusual for presidents to use a hologram to address people, but that's not the only aspect of Star Wars we'll put into practice. We will also defeat the Empire.
The president of Ukraine also addressed the two chambers of the Czech parliament, thanking them for their support. Zelenskyy discussed war crimes committed by the Russian army in Ukraine with Danish journalists. And last Saturday, Volodymyr Zelenskyy and Interior Minister Denis Monastyrsky visited Mykolaiv, which is under constant shelling by the Russian army. They discussed threats and the humanitarian situation in the region. The president awarded the servicemen and doctors of the emergency hospital on the eve of the Medical Worker Day. Reported by Marina Stepanenko, Julia Bezborodko, UATV News.